Carl is back.
Lining up.
Lemnis Gate is a bit trippy, and I'm not talking about the psychedelia side of video games trippiness. I mean more the way that your mind will boggle while trying to play this. It's a first-person shooter, but it's stuck in a time loop, an experience where you have to pull off split-second headshots in order to win, where every second counts, but where you have the time to stop, pause, and think about your actions before you make them. It's a game that is a bit of a sci-fi brainworm. It's a bit like an earworm of a song that gets stuck in your head, but for cool sci-fi stuff. It's also a game that I feel is almost sure to overwhelm roughly half the people that try to play it. The basic premise is actually pretty straightforward. Whether in 1v1 or 2v2 objective game modes, you take turns to control one of your characters, setting in motion a chain of particular events that will last until the end of the match. Once a turn has been recorded, time is wound back, and the other player can analyse what you've done and then try to counteract it with their own turn in this time loop. With one shot or an early intervention, they can wipe out all of your good work, giving them the upper hand. But here's the thing, your next turn can go and then do exactly the same, wiping out their character and restoring your own ones back to the game's timeline, a little bit like Marty McFly fading back into a Polaroid photo. It is all, as I've already said, a little bit mind-boggling, especially as you're watching the actions of previous turns unfolding on the map from your drone's overhead view and trying to figure out what you can do next. You have choices to make for your go, ranging from which character to use, you only get to use each one time, to which objective to head towards, and whether you're going to try and be objective focused or aim instead to take out the opponent's moves. Are you going to be proactive or reactive? You also do need to try and think 3 steps ahead. How is your opponent then going to react and try to cancel out your moves? Can you safeguard against that kind of play? And then there's simply the matter that you actually need to perform 25 seconds per 25 seconds. Will you confidently step into the limelight and strut your stuff, or will it turn into a nightmare where you realise that you're late for school, you've forgotten your homework, and are somehow completely naked? This is just a torturous way of saying that you still need to be good at playing a first-person shooter. Your best laid plans will not help you if you can't then put them into place. Thankfully, the winner of a match is determined by several factors. There's a few different objective game modes, which include grabbing and returning capturables, retrieve XM as the game calls it. You can also have a mode where you're shooting capture points to try and take them for your side, but the other team is also trying to damage them at the same point. And you have an attack and defense mode where one side is trying to destroy objectives while the other defends them. Completing any of these objectives will give you a big bunch of points at the end of the game, but there's also more points for offing the other side and other actions. There's also a half-time break that resets the field of play at the midway point, so that you can try and make a comeback even if you've completely flunked the first half. It means that mistakes in the first few rounds won't necessarily end your chances of winning overall, though that doesn't make it any less disheartening to mess everything up by, for example, running into a rocket that you yourself fired 2 turns previously. Yes, friendly fire is very much a factor here. And this leads me actually to one of my favourite realisations for how you can meaningfully reach from one layer of this time loop lasagna to help yourself out in the past. One of the character classes here is Carl, and he's a friendly robot sort, the kind that's becoming quite popular in video games of late, coming with an ability to lay down a shield bubble that can block bullets, rockets, and everything else. I thought I was being super smart to chase after my first turn character and try to drop a bubble between them and the aggressor that had previously cancelled them out. Instead, my shield bubble was fired just as the enemy rounded the corner, attaching to and inadvertently defending them instead of my character. And yes, that's right, you can put shield bubbles on other characters, friend or foe. My eyes lit up as I realised that actually I could try and put bubbles on some allies in future, though this does actually prove trickier than I'd like it to, particularly through playing the demo via cloud gaming, which is what the situation was for this preview. This is just one of the countless strategies that I'm sure will emerge as players get to grips with Lemnis Gate, whether it's trying to put mines in a doorway or preemptively spamming an area with rocket fire that makes it very difficult for the other side to pick their way through. Now, this is actually the second time that we were able to play Lemnis Gate, but there were a few new additions. There were new maps, such as Tectonic Wells in Retrieve XM pushes the size and complexity that the mode can really sustain, I feel, but it does also open up the more strategic side of the game compared to the Twitch shooter. As well as this, there was the new simultaneous 2v2 teammates play together mode. Instead of each player taking a turns, this puts both players from a team into play at the same time. And this really ramps up the pace of the game to literally halve the time that a match takes. It means there's less time for discussing plans though, which means you'll have to react more on the fly, and you might find yourself falling into a bit of a tactical rut because of it. But then again, it's speedier, it's slightly more immediate, and it's an alternative game mode that I'm sure many duos will love to dive into. All in all, Lemnis Gate continues to delight one side of my brain, the hardcore sci-fi fan side, but then it smooths over the other side, which is dealing with all of the strategic planning and twitch shooting. It is such a cool concept and one that I'm sure will appeal to many, but there is still a pretty steep learning curve to get over in order to really find the very best of this game. It could be a bit intimidating, but thankfully Frontier Foundry has decided to try and get as many people in through the Lemnis Gate as possible. The game will release on the 3rd of August across PlayStation, Xbox and PC, and it will have a thoroughly reasonable price of $20 in the US, £15.50 in the UK and just under €17 in Europe. Not only that, but it will also be entering into Xbox Game Pass on day one, so if you're subscribed to that, you can try it out for no extra cost. That's all for this video, and I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. Lemnis Gate is just a couple of months away, and I'm really excited to try out more of it and see if I'm actually any good at it outside of preview events, and even there, I wasn't amazing. Before you go though, make sure to like, subscribe, click the bell icon, the usual YouTube things, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Good.